Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving right into how you can bulletproof your plant floor and protect it from catastrophic downtime using WAGO's 852 lean managed switches and robust ring networks. Honestly, if you've ever dealt with the absolute headache of a sudden network failure just halting a production line in its tracks, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down the architecture of redundant industrial networks and look at the exact hardware and protocols that keep your operations running smoothly even when physical damage happens on the floor.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the vulnerable plant floor, move into the ring network solution, compare RSTP and ERPS protocols, check out the lean managed advantage, figure out how to choose your WAGO switch, and finally, close the loop. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get into it.
Section 1. The vulnerable plant floor and the very real danger of flat networks.
So, I want you to ask yourself a question. In your current setup right now, what actually happens if a single cable gets severed by a forklift? Or if a port suddenly dies? What if a drop is just accidentally unplugged by a technician? What happens to your production line? In an industrial environment, physical damage isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We're dealing with heavy machinery, moving parts, and just constant, non-stop activity.
And that brings us to the core problem with standard, flatline, or star network topologies. A single break completely isolates everything downstream. Boom, production stops. It's kind of like a dead-end road, right? A tree falls across it, and traffic halts entirely. There's no way around. That single break brings your entire production line to a grinding halt, which obviously costs time, money, and can easily ruin mid-cycle materials. We literally cannot accept that level of vulnerability on a modern plant floor.
So how do we fix it? That brings us to Section 2, entering the ring network and the closed-loop solution.
The way we solve that dead-end problem is by using what's become the absolute gold standard for the plant floor, the ring network. This is an industrial Ethernet topology where your switches are cabled together in a closed loop. That means every single device has two physical paths to the rest of the network, not just one. So by creating this closed loop, if a link breaks, like that severed cable we just talked about, the traffic instantly acts like a highly resilient detour system. It just reroutes the other way around the ring, meaning your network keeps running without missing a beat.
But here is the catch, and it's a massive one. You absolutely cannot just take standard unmanaged plug-and-play switches and plug them into a circle. Why? Well, without management, data just loops endlessly around that circle. It compounds upon itself until it creates what's known as a broadcast storm. And trust me, you don't want that. A broadcast storm will completely overwhelm your bandwidth and take your network down just as thoroughly as a cut cable would. You have to have a way to manage that traffic.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3. RSTP versus ERPS protocols and how we actually manage that loop.
To logically block one path until it's actually needed and prevent that broadcast storm, we need managed switches running redundancy protocols. Choosing the right protocol is absolutely crucial here, and we've got two heavy lifters to look at. First up is RSTP, or Rapid Spanning Tree Protocol. Think of this as your versatile, interoperable workhorse. It detects the loop, blocks one redundant path, and if a break happens, it reconverges to the backup. It's a fantastic safe default from mixed vendor networks. But its recovery time is non-deterministic, meaning it depends heavily on the size of your network. On the flip side, we have ERPS, or Ethernet Ring Protection Switching. ERPS is purpose-built specifically for rings. It gives you deterministic recovery, meaning it reconverges in just a few hundred milliseconds after a fault. So if you're running time-sensitive processes, vision-guided handling, synchronized motion, really tight process control, ERPS is exactly what's going to save your PLC connection mid-cycle.
But listen, software protocols are really only half the battle. You also need hardware reliability, so keep the number 2 in mind here. Backing up both of those protocols at the hardware level, WAGO's 852 managed switches accept 2 independent DC power inputs. This is a total game changer because it means a single power fault won't drop the switch and defeat the entire purpose of your redundancy. You get backup paths for your data and backup paths for your power.
Let's move right into Section 4 to see how this becomes an accessible solution. The lean managed advantage, or as I like to call it, redundancy without the IT headaches.
Look, fully managed switches are incredibly powerful, no doubt about it, but their deep configuration requirements, like setting up complex VLANs or access control lists, can be a huge barrier. This is where WAGO's lean managed concept truly shines. Instead of forcing you to parse complex logs through some intimidating command line interface, WAGO gives you a visual, browser-based, web-based management tool, or WBM. It literally streamlines the parameter set to exactly what a controls team actually needs. You get a live topology map of connected devices, per-port usage monitoring, and crystal-clear visual error diagnostics. If something goes wrong, you're looking at a clear map of your network, not miles of code. It totally empowers maintenance teams to stand up a redundant ring without needing a dedicated IT engineer looking over their shoulder.
All right, Section 5, choosing your WAGO switch and breaking down the hardware tiers.
We can use a pretty straightforward framework to navigate WAGO's 852 family. Let's break it down real quick. At the top, for those simple point-to-point drops where uptime isn't overly critical and you're on a tight budget, you've got the unmanaged or eco tier, switches like the 852 1112 or 1112. Just keep in mind, those cannot close a redundant ring. In the middle, you have the sweet spot for most plant floors, the lean managed tier. These are your workhorses, like the 8-port gigabit 852 1812 or the 1813 if you need power over Ethernet and fiber slots. These give you that RSTP and ERPS ring redundancy with the fast browser setup we just talked about. And finally, if you need the whole shebang, full layer 2 control, max-X security, or high-density fiber backbones for extreme temperatures, you step up to the industrial managed line, like the 1322 or 1305.
And actually setting this up, it's incredibly straightforward. It really boils down to 4 simple no-code steps. Step 1, open the WBM tool in any web browser. Step 2, enable your chosen redundancy protocol, so RSTP or ERPS. Step 3, define which ports on the switch make up the ring. And step 4, just confirm you have a healthy, closed ring via that visual topology map. What's really cool here is that as long as your protocols match, say everything is running RSTP, you can actually mix lean managed switches at the cell level with industrial managed switches at the backbone level, all within the exact same ring.
Okay, let's bring it all home. Section 6, closing the loop and the control layer.
Because at the end of the day, a redundant network doesn't just exist to be a cool topology, right? It exists to keep your control layer talking. WAGO's 852 switches and their PFC200 code assist controllers are literally designed to work together as one cohesive automation system. Ultimately, this redundant ring ensures that a single fault, like that severed cable or dead port we talked about way at the beginning, never severs the vital Modbus TCP, Ethernet, IP, or Profinet traffic flowing between your PFC200 nodes, your I/O, HMIs, and SCADA systems. It literally keeps the heartbeat of your plant alive.
So I'm going to leave you with this to think about as we wrap up this explainer. Look around your facility today. Is your plant floor truly protected against that one-cut cable? And if not, are you ready to build a redundant network that actually makes sense for your controls team? Automation Distribution is an authorized WAGO distributor, and they can absolutely help you match switches, power, and I/O to your specific setup. Give them a call at 1-888-600-3080 to get started. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and hey, here's to keeping those production lines running flawlessly.